Go ahead.
What's up, everybody? This is another segment of Black Bear Medicine Bag show. And tonight I have a very special guest, Copper Roots, in the room. Tonight we will be discussing reparations. Should they be paid? And who should they be distributed to? Is it all people who claim to be black? Or is there certain people in America, specifically to a family line? Dosti notene si dunela. Okay, Los Chimames. Que onda la raza? What's up, everybody? Let's get into the topic. A lot of people want reparations for the slavery, but how many people really should get reparations? My question is that to you, Copper Roots. Who should get paid and why?
So you really want to start out with me on the top on the reparation tip? Can you hear me?
Yes. Well, I would say this. I have a great
Well,
grandfather in the
this
night.
what this is what I say. I want you to state your cause because
Hmm.
I never really felt like I don't know. You state your cause and then I'll follow through.
Okay. I feel like it's so hard to find
And you
any
gotta be
African.
careful. And Doug is he was on there. He said
Right, and I
so.
tried to put him in, but he fell out. We're live now.
Go ahead.
Okay, I do have a great grandfather who I do have a document as a sharecropper. And basically, sharecroppers was another form of slavery that existed where they did not get really paid for during the 19th century to the current century. But I haven't found any African slaves ancestors. So I feel like currently we should try to get people who are sharecroppers or something like that who've been affected currently, because if we go back to that, a lot of us probably couldn't find that documentation that we're looking for what not reasons all the way to the beginning, and that's another way. But if you could find something current, I feel like the one of the current things that did, then maybe you should be able to get something. You know what I mean? And then I realized that the payments in California and Illinois is so low, like 26,000 really for just redlining. But I don't know. You know, I feel like it should be more money. That's just a down payment really for housing. I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to pay as little as possible in order to cover something that's been happened for about 5 6 centuries. Everybody else is generation wealth, and incur in generation debt. Basically, they're indebted to us, and we have debt, but we don't have the wealth that we should be. We should be further along. So I don't know. That's my thought process. I'm gonna mute my mic while you go ahead and give your thought process.
So the original question stated to me was who deserves reparation. Then we went into sharecropping. Um, I might not deal with this order of operations that it was in, but I will say that there are a lot of people who were sharecroppers uh, back in those days. We can deal with Chinese people. We can deal with poor Caucasian people who were also sharecroppers. Uh, so I don't believe sharecropping in itself was a form of slavery. Now, they did practice certain things against my people who I descended from when they came to sharecropping. Like, oh, you buying merchandise from this sharecropper store. And so now, but when it's time to pay up, now you actually owe more than what the crop was. You know what I mean? So that in itself is just another form of trickery. And we can call those type of Caucasian people local. They were tricked, you know what I mean? So Was that a form of slavery? I'm not gonna say that's a form of slavery. 'Cause I think today we are tricked out of our hourly wages today. I mean, like if you look at, I feel like how much are you worth as a person? How much is your time worth? And if you settle for $7.25, you're telling the world and the universe that's how much every minute that you're on the clock is worth. So even within that sense, it's still a form of slavery. But to get to the initial meat of this conversation, we're talking about reparations. Who deserve reparations? Well, it can get tricky because although the people who I descended from were slaves, possibly, but they were also Caucasian. There were a lot of white slaves who came from Africa. It's even being thought that some of the slaves who was even brought here from Africa were Caucasian, Slavic, different things like that. So we're dealing with a whole like a big ass bomb that I don't think a lot of people are ready for when they talk about slaves. Only because America has only taught that the slaves were black. We're focusing on those slaves. But there were Irish people. There were just people that were shipped there from Britain. There were all kind of slaves. I mean, they didn't go through you are under the lifetime of slavery. So we would have to deal with that. So we would have to differentiate those who were doing their 7 year, or maybe you was a slave, your ancestor was a slave, and they ran away and they was okay from that point on. But I think it gets a little deeper when we talk about reparations because if a Caucasian can prove that their ancestors were also slaves, that means they might be entitled to it. The crucial part about that also is some of our people who own land were put down there white on some of these census. So census, I hate using the word census, but that doesn't even sound like it makes sense. I believe census is in itself a singular story, but I would have to look into that myself. So on the census for everything, sometimes people were not put down there, like Indian folks, not even mulatto. Uh, and then you got to deal with this big thing that's going to be an issue when it comes to slavery, or trying to find out who is descendants of slaves. We're going to have those people who are skin folk but not kinfolk coming through trying to scam the system, just like the PPP loan. And they know they came from Africa, or they know they came from Jamaica or St. Lucia or any other place, and they're going to be claiming to be who we are in order to try to scam the government out of that money. So I mean, like, it's going to be a whole fiasco that, yeah, you can probably prove things through genealogy, and it's going to be just like the tribal things. I need the death certificate from your ancestor, and the birth certificate, and the death certificate from the person after them, all the way down to trickle to you. But I just believe there's going to be a lot of fraud and scamming going on with that. A lot of people going to go to jail. A lot of innocent people going to go to jail too, because they might not have known that their ancestor was Haitian. But some people are definitely not. I'm gonna use this terminology, FBA. Um, but
What does
They
FBA
don't know
stand
that
for?
because they don't
What
know their genealogy. But I will say that if we're gonna stick to the idea of what we've always been talking about with reparations was for, it's gonna be anybody who descended from chattel slavery. And I digress.
my mind frame was on the
Unless you
same.
need me to continue talking, because I will. I don't know where you at right now.
I could jump in and fill in. I'm feeling the same way as you. Like, yes,
Could
like the
you
whole.
even hear me, man? Because I thought the thing was in my ear. So I don't know if you heard me or not, man.
Yeah, I heard you. I heard you, but like it was going low, going high, going low. Basically, like some things was in there, some things weren't. But I heard some things. If you want to go back and repeat what you said, you can. But I was just going to add to what you were saying that there's a lot of people from the islands, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Cuba, that's going to try because and claim to be us, and then we were like, no, your ancestors over there, you guys should get from the Spanish government. And but the tricky thing is the Spanish was doing slavery over here too. So they're gonna get sued, the French are gonna get sued, the Portuguese. But mainly right now, the first place they're gonna start is United States, but it opens up the door for everybody else, basically, with this reparation. It opens up the door for you to go back to your country and talk to your government. But the thing about Haiti is they don't even have a government currently right now. They're disarray, but they could go to the Dominican government and then the Spaniards, and basically I would direct them to go there, because that's who enslaved you, was the Spaniards. So with that being said, I do see people going to jail because they don't know, but it's kind of like with that, kind of look at ancestry.com does give you a geographic location of your blackness, if that makes sense. They'll tell you within you're from a Mississippi Western group, you're from uh Virginia early blacks. And I'm just giving my family, in particular me, and then I thought about the indigenous population of the United States also that was enslaved with us. They should be entitled too, because they were there on the plantations too, and they got the misclassification a long time ago of Africans. So that's another group that should push too, that was on them plantations with us. I was going through the same thing with us, but was classified differently. So that's another group that should be entitled. But that is going to be a more difficult group to divvy out to. But like you were saying with whites, there's a lot of intermarried whites. There's a lot of intermarried whites, like the Irish I read about were being get exterminated basically because the British didn't want them, so they would take some of our people and mix with the Irish women. That's why in our DNA also I saw there's Irish. There's a lot of Irish, Scottish, all of them. The slave masters either got at us or they were being mixed during that time period too. So I understand when you were talking about there's some white people that can prove that probably will come in. We're going to see a whole lot more white people claim blackness for that money than we ever seen. A lot more when it comes to money. Is people pop out the woodworks when you start to get money, people pop out the woodworks like, where'd you come from? Basically. And that's what anybody, any group, when money starts to come in, people start always to change. Another problem though that I'm seeing in California, Cal, another problem that I'm seeing in California, Illinois is they're actually suing the government or suing the state government, saying that the 14th Amendment does not allow you to use race for government programs. And I
Right.
understand that. Go
Look,
ahead.
I got kicked out. for some reason. Like I guess when somebody called my phone, they disconnect my microphone.
Right.
But do you hear that music? Is that me?
Yeah, this you. We hear you fine. You coming in fine.
No, I mean I hear something, a song playing.
I don't hear no
It
song
sound like
playing.
it sound like Doug.
Oh, like I tried to put Doug in, but he's not in. Message him or
No,
call him.
I
Let
mean
him.
I really I'm hearing a song that's playing.
Mm. Well, I don't, it's not from my end. If it is, it's strange. It's real strange.
But what I was saying about the Haitians and the French, or even the colonized places that are in Africa, they are not living up under that government anymore, right? So that's what makes their plight for
Right.
reparations way different than ours. We are still living up under that government. See what I'm saying? We built, we have built this government. They took their. Why is Doug music playing? I just don't understand. But when
Phantom.
we, that's crazy, man. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one that can hear it. But we still live up under the government that we built. The other places they took the resources and they ran back to their country. You see what I'm saying? I don't think that was ever the plan for the Europeans who came here. But I'm still going to say that they actually had other people besides us or the people who I descend from in chains. Although it might not have been lifelong and they didn't do the same things that they did, but I will say that the reparations conversation can get very deep and it can get very ugly, and you're still gonna have the scammers. Um, and you gotta think about it. What about those people who are passing as black today? I mean, back then they were. Let's say that they were. They said passing as white. Their descendants, the people before them were black, but because they were assaulted by the slave master, uh, they they became the ones who could pass as white, right? So then, what about the one they continued to pass as white, and they had descendants their own selves? So their descendants would still be able to look back and be like, although I am Caucasian because my my great great grandfather was a slave, or great great grandmother was a slave who was assaulted. Uh, I qualify for reparations, and so do my descendants, my cousins. So you're gonna have a lot of people who are just not dark skinned come through and be able to qualify for reparations because they're going to be able to go back in their genealogical record and prove that they have an ancestor who was a slave. You feel
Okay.
me?
What if they be like, and what if black folks like, what if they be like, what if they start to do the
But you
idea of,
can't do that.
okay,
It can't be. It can't be based on skin color
no, what if it's
because
based on genealogy? Like you have to have two parents, two great grandparents that are those
Mhm.
people. You know, they
and
get more
then,
specific as time goes on. You
but
know what I'm
then
saying?
they would still be able to come in because man, I'm trying to find out. Okay. I don't know what. Hold on, man. SoundCloud popped up on my thing for some reason. I don't know. That's what
Yeah,
I
I
was
think it's
saying.
something coming in on your end, not my end. My end is good. It has
Uh,
to be your end.
but imagine if you say two grandparents, then technically that slave master had a mother or a father. So that would
Right.
technically make two grandparents. unless it was like it had to be like two black ones who made it together to
Right.
become. And
So, so
I don't like to use that word black, but you know what I'm
well,
saying.
black was what we chose. African American was put upon us by Jesse Jackson.
It was always black. Negro is what?
Black.
Okay
Negro.
then. So
Right.
we was talking about, oh, we just gonna use the English version of it, and I believe that is where we were stupid at. Period. By even still calling ourselves that or allowing that to be put upon us.
Right. I mean, I understand it from a different tone because some indigenous tribes in the southeast understood black represents power and war, and when they went to war, they would paint themselves black. A lot of people around the world they would paint themselves black. So I understand it from that angle too. At the same time, it represents power. So maybe at the time in 1960s and 70s with the Black Panther idea, it represents the warriorness of we still here, we're still fighting. But after what happened in the 60s and 70s, the fight left. The fight
We
really left.
still silly as fuck for saying that we black, and
I got
that's okay. That's okay. But I'm just saying, like, just think about South Africa right now.
you. Right.
They're calling people colored or using them terminologies as such as black, uh, and they
So
find that endearing.
what do you
But
think
I'm just what
okay, for us to qualify for that, and that's where the monkey in the hand jar, one of my friends who doesn't who's the chief of Tuscarora, I'm gonna put it at that. He reminded me something. The minute that you accept reparations, everything that follows reparations, it's like what happened. That terminology, African American, will follow you. Everything will follow you when you do that. I'm talking about the ones who are also American Indian. The minute that you do that, you have to follow everything that comes with that. Not just you get the money. Now you're at a political status forever because you took the money.
I'm gonna say all African Americans, unless they came from Africa, are the American Indians.
Hmm.
That's where I'm going to go with that. But once you take the money, I mean, yeah, there's probably gonna be a caveat to it. But imagine back in the day, people who decided to stay was uh, termed as Negro or Black, and not Indian, not taxed. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of things that happened back in the day, but
Hmm.
the
Hold on,
idea
hold on.
is,
You dropped a breadcrumb. You said non-tax. Explain that to the people who don't understand non-tax. Break that
well,
down for me.
I'm not going into that right now. I want to complete my
Okay.
thought, man, before I
Okay, my
forget
bad.
it.
Okay.
So, you know, yes, taking it, you might be looked at as okay. These are descendants of slaves, but that still does not put the fight of reclassification on the table. You know what I mean? It doesn't like remove it because yes, we are descendants of slaves, but what were we before we became slaves? That idea is still going to be there. You know what I mean? And I believe before reparations can be dished out, before any of that can be dished out, the first thing that we have to focus on is getting classified as who we were before we were slaves. Now, once you do that, now you can focus on reparation, but it'll be way deeper than reparations because now you're focusing on land. You see what I'm saying? You're
Yes, I do
focusing on
see.
things that were not around. So reparations will be an easy thing for them to dish out. They can borrow money or create money and give it to us and just say, here go your reparations. All right, sweep everything else under the table. But if we focus on the reclassification, because now you cannot self-identify as a cat and a dog if you want to, even if people, even if people were not who we are saying we are, you're in the part of history where you can self-identify as whatever you want to.
Yes, that's so true that a guy used to say this, that if a man could identify as whatever sexual orientation, you could identify as American Indian, which is so true.
But imagine the Caucasians been doing that shit for a long time now. Anyway, Caucasians been identifying themselves as I'm one fourth Cherokee, I'm this, I'm that. They've been doing that.
Right.
A black person, a person who has descended from slavery can't even say that and be believed. But
I, I
a white person saying it, ain't nobody gonna have no questions for it.
I would say, what's the phenotype? Because some black people all believe that they got the typical
Nah,
phenotype.
they still are going to get battered and bruised, and they're gonna call them Afro Indigenous. They're still gonna put them as a subclass outside of. And I'm talking about if you're dealing with these, when you're dealing with the tribes and these, uh, the other ones out here who call people wabos or any of those other derogatory names.
Mm. I've never heard
Until
that
some, you never
before.
heard what?
I heard wannabes. I've never heard wobbles. I heard the terminology wannabe included. But like, like I think,
Maybe you can add that to your glossary of terms that you use.
okay. Well, and another thing we deal with when dealing with Caucasians is everybody's aware of in Oklahoma the $5 Indian situation with the five civilized tribes, how that only applies to the ones that pay $5 to be included in the DOS rolls.
So what about the other ones?
The other tribes called the people outside of their tribe wannabe.
But what I'm saying is, so you do know that there was a point in time where Caucasian Spaniards or whoever used to marry into the tribes, right? Just so that
Correct.
just so that they can deceive and manipulate the tribes
Right, right.
later
So they
on.
could get the land or the resources that they wanted from.
Yes, and they can turn land over to their own people. So like Caremio was one of the guys who I used to listen to a lot about that. He used to read some of the literature that explained some of that kind of stuff. And I used to be like taken aback by just listening to it, like really like some things I didn't know. But everything that we should know is already written down. And here's the issue that I would have with anybody who has an issue with Black Americans claiming indigenous or aboriginal to America or foundational Black America or ADOS or whatever the fuck it's called, is if it has been written down since earlier times. It ain't like people just bringing it up and pulling it out their ass. These things have been written down by people who are not us. And people can say, oh, well, that's pseudo or that's whatever. But if they pull out something talking about, what is that? What is that prophecy that they used to have? Indigo. So I can't think of it right now. But any of that other stuff that was written down by other Caucasian people, it's accepted until they be like the people who were in southern Mexico were black people. Or the people who, some big Olmec heads that they found were black people. Like modern science says that they were black, but you still have people who put their own face up who are not like us and act like, see, it looks like me. I'm a Mexican. It looks like me. That's
Well,
not.
I can to admit that they said what happened to the Toltecs and the Olmecs. They said those people are gone. When the Mexica, actually, that's what they call themselves. Actually, Azalan was the place that they said they were
Yeah,
from.
man.
They were saying these people are gone. These people are not here no more. for what not reasons. That when they got there, they wasn't there either. They moved on somewhere, you know. So with that being said, that's where the confusion I think it begins. And I would actually, you know, like a lot of people don't like DNA. Why? Because DNA tells the truth, and tells the truth, then it makes people a lie. And I actually asked the card carrying Cherokee woman who was mixed with Mexican. I was like, okay. I asked her, I was like, hey, not to diss my Mexican people, because I still, you know, I'm there with them, but we gotta be fair. One of the things I asked her was this: if we took the DNA from the mounds and we compared it to the current Cherokee people today from the mounds, we will really know who's who. And she said, we already know who's who from our tribal paperwork. And everybody knows the DOS commissions was set up by the US federal government. Now, I would say further back or longer, the older roles, maybe the Baker roles, but even that. But further back, maybe some of those roles were, but you only find one or two ancestors. So if
Hey,
you keep,
Doug said he in the background, bro.
he is, I can't, he is, I'm not seeing him. It's just us. Oh, here he goes. I'm about to add him to the stage. Add to the stage. Okay. Hey, Doug, what's up, man? You doing all right?
Yeah, what's that? I'm here.
Okay, so I was just discussing about taking
Doug,
DNA.
you need an avatar or something, bro. But it's
Yeah,
cool though for now.
it's good. It's
You
good.
gotta
Yeah,
have, you gotta have an avatar for when you doing your show or when you doing other shows like this.
right. There we go. There you go, Doug. Right there. Everybody sees Doug's face. Nice hat. I
Yeah.
like that. I like that, bro. So back to
So
it. So
now
basically, I was basically comparing DNA from the mounds. These are actually, we forget the DNA test for ancestry. Actually look at the people. Because what I find is that native tribes will claim, use DNA tests to claim certain people back, because we know bones were sold to museums and sold to private collectors. But at the same time, when we start to add people, are you really from the ancient people that you claim? Because you say your ancestors are from this, from the oral tradition stories, they don't match up. Then you're looking like, okay, so who really are these people? But with Cherokee people, I do know they have heavily mixed with other groups of people. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people don't match up to the mounds of Cthulhu and other mounds that they claim to be from, because there's so much mixing. But I guess the biggest
well,
thing,
you gotta
my
understand
biggest
that
point,
they said that the Native Americans are saying that they didn't create the mounds. So that the mounds were created and they were here before they got here.
well, it
Um
depends on which
that,
tribe, which person,
but
because the
yeah,
very
but hold on. But even with that being said, why would somebody be like, we don't care about whatever DNA you pull out the ground. We only care about what's on this paperwork. Why would they say that?
because they're hiding something, because they know, and everybody knows, that you go to the pudding tells the truth, and what's on the record is just fabricated, or
That's
it
because
has,
they already know they not the original people, bro. That's why.
right.
I can I can I can put my family down for $5 Indian shit, or we can bring the people who here worked on the railroads a long time ago, and the Asians, the Chinese, and we can say that they are indigenous. But it don't matter. We can dig them bones up, and every time you dig them bones up, guess what they gonna say? Let's dig up a let's. If we went to go dig up a mound right now, and we found people with well, we're gonna say Black American DNA. They're gonna find out a way to say, oh, somehow these African slaves got put in these mounds, and they're not indigenous people.
That's crazy.
That's what they do all the time, man. Every time it's something, oh, we don't know. Maybe these Africans came over here at some other point in time in history. They always find out a way to say that we are African.
Right. And my
So
biggest thing is this
when you
too. My biggest thing is this, and this is like past Darwin's theory, right? If everybody knows that everybody came from
you
a
said
certain
Darwin,
part of, yeah, Darwin claims everybody comes from Africa, which I don't agree with. Because if
it's a
you're a
theory, ain't
Christian,
it?
Yeah, and if you're a Christian, you already know everybody started it left from that Tower of Babel in the Middle East, and they went their separate ways. So if everybody went their separate ways, that means that couldn't have happened that way already. That's what already was like. How is it possible for all of us to come from Africa if the world was destroyed by a flood, and then after it was destroyed by a flood, everybody met up in one spot of the earth, and the language was confused because we do see a lot of languages, and we do see a lot of animals that's not supposed to be there. That's in certain locations. My question is, how in the world did everybody come from Africa if we all went to all directions of the planet? It
So
just don't make any sense.
you gotta understand that it's called the out of Africa theory.
Theory,
That it has
right,
not been proven to be a fact.
right.
There's also theories out there to say that America is the true old world and life originated here. We
It's a
got plants,
theory.
we got plants and we got vegetables that Africa wouldn't be surviving on if we didn't bring it over there. I mean, I ain't even talking about in old age. I'm talking about a recent time, like things like corn and the other vegetables that we brought over there to help them survive. Like we have more fresh water here in America. Like you would think that this would be the cradle of civilization, and
Mm.
not somewhere that is barren over there. I mean, yes, they got a lot of resources over there. I'm not even gonna lie to you, but I am almost on the guys, and they say that America has the oldest pyramids that are older than Africa. I'm on the line to say that yeah, we over here are the originators.
I would say this. I think the pyramids, to keep it real with you, existed even before. I think they come from like the Neolithic period when there were Nephilims, and because as big as them pyramids, I mean, I'm not even just talking about Africa, I'm not throughout the world, right? You can find pyramids when we talk about that in Brazil. You can find pyramids off the coast of Cuba. You could find pyramids in Indonesia. You could find pyramids over there in Southeast Asia. And they all point to like the constellation. So I'm thinking like if these fallen angels from the book of Enoch, since they did come down, they taught man a lot of things. Why wouldn't they have like certain ways that they could get certain things done? For you know what I mean? Like I'm thinking they're probably as old as man itself when it's dealing with pyramids, as many as they found. I'm
I
thinking
mean,
these are
I understand what you're saying, but if we take the Bible out of the
mhm,
conversation,
right. If we're just dealing with man
if we
itself,
just deal with scientific shit, you can say fallen angels every day. Could they have been we could they have just been an extraterrestrial civilization that was here before him, and not necessarily what we would call fallen angels?
hmm, or
You know what I
spirit.
mean? Because if we only put a biblical aspect to anything, then we are limiting the understanding of what could be out there in the universe itself.
Got you. Right, because
But
there's many different forms of life that we know exist. You know what I'm saying?
I'm
Because
gonna
even
say that I just feel like, man, that
Doug,
the history is there, the records are definitely there. The Roman Catholic Church knows who was here ahead of time, and I believe the Mormons know who was here ahead of time. That's why when they made that cartoon, they said that there were black Indians here. They said there were white Indians here, then there was a black tribe of Indians here, and then the black tribes killed the white tribe or whatever. You gotta look that cartoon up. You know what I'm saying? The Mormon forbidden cartoon, if you ain't never seen it yet. And it just explains what the Mormons believe was going on before America was discovered. And they say that the black people was already here.
got you. Now, Doug, if we got reparations, everybody got their paperwork in various times. What would be something that you think would change our plight in the Black indigenous community? What do you think would change? What do you think would be the same?
I don't think anything would change because everybody are stuck in their ways.
So you don't think that nobody will start like, Oklahoma, when Black indigenous got land, they started building communities, they started having schools, they started having change, they had their own everything, so they didn't really need to leave up out of there. Like
There, there could be a percentage of people that do that, but at the same time, black people are stuck in their ways. Yeah, I don't think see too much of change. Some people might change, but a lot of people will stay the same. You see people growing up in certain neighborhoods or whatever, they want to be stuck in their same neighborhood instead of finding a way out of the so-called hoods that they grew up in. So
but
I believe a lot of things won't change.
But it's that what's so bad about staying in your hood if you make the changes that needs to be. For example, you saw when the Italians and the Irish, for example, were gangsters and they were trying to kill each other. But as soon as the government gave them the police jobs and they gave them the lawyer jobs and they gave them the fireman jobs, they started getting money. They started to be more civil and changed their environment. What's so bad about that? If you give it money and you change your environment, if we come to the point of consensus of, hey, we getting this money, we don't have to live like this, we could be example. What do you think is the driving factor of debasing everybody, every minorities? What's the underlying thing that's driving them towards that? Is it on a spiritual level, physical level, or mental level?
I think that may be a on a mental level because people's mentality is not looking to where uh, going forward. They're looking to about where they are right now. They're not looking like what happened in the past or what's going to happen in the future. They're looking forward to what's going on right now. Especially if you think about certain people in certain neighborhoods, all they worried about is a certain neighborhood or what's going to happen in the next couple of days, not in the next 100 years or anything like that. So I don't think, yeah.
Imagine looking at what Dave Chappelle did his skit when they gave black people reparations. It's gonna be like that, and it boosted America's economy because black people were spending, spending, spending. Now, I'm gonna go with Brooklyn Saint Michael on this, and I believe he's still taking something from the Bible when he said that. But like everybody can't be saved. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna have to be a small percentage of black people, like 15% of them, to, and it took 400 years or so to get us into this situation. It's not going to get us out of it. If they gave us reparations today, without a plan on not no schools, we don't need any of that. We need all of us to be able to get the money, but there has to be something that's tied in with the money, some type of financial education. Like, okay, if you're gonna get the reparations, we all y'all gotta sign up. Some of y'all money is going to go to financial literacy. See what I'm saying? Because without that, it's like Doug said, it's a mentality, and you're going to end up back in the hood. What's wrong with leaving the hood? Nothing is wrong with leaving the hood, and everything is wrong with staying in the hood. Why
A
do I
lot of
say that? Because if you stay in the hood, it's like crabs in a barrel.
yeah, you're gonna
You
get you
cannot,
pulled right back in.
yeah, you can't stay around people with the mentality that is not. You got to get with people whose mentality or thought process is moving progressive. If I'm staying in the hood and I want to do something in the hood, I might end up dead in the hood. Like anybody else who got money, these rappers, they keep getting killed in the hood. But
Well, you
why are
see
you
what
living in the hood anymore?
The
that's
whole
the
thing
same thing that
though,
happened to a well-known rapper.
but the
You
whole
can
thing is though, I think at the same time you have to go back and build something for your people and
you
help your
can help
people.
you can help the hood by not live in the hood. You understand that?
Right.
Yeah,
At the
but it's
same
those
time.
people that they got to do something too, though. Like
But you
Mhm.
still not
if
gonna be able
if
to
they,
help everybody.
Right.
You are only gonna be able to help the ones who want to be helped.
the ones who are reaching up for the handout.
Right. Got you. And
Because
I think another
I
thing,
can
we
give a
gotta have
nigga,
a
I
plan.
can give you some fish, but I can teach you how to fish. Like that what it
Mm.
say?
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
change your whole life. That's like with me. My idea is this government contracting stuff. So with the government contracting, if I'm not only just focusing on my pocket, how many people can I take out of the poverty mindset by teaching them that or by giving them the job? Because some people are not business owners. Some people are workers. Some people are workers. See what I'm saying? Some people do have the mindset to run a business though.
Right. Right. And
But
I think they need those. And another aspect to me is reparations is helping business, giving us a head start of everybody else that gets here, because everybody else who gets in America gets also a business way of getting it. So part of our thing outside of the money would be, hey, this is for your business. 5 years, no taxes for your business, so you could grow. Right. That's what they do for everybody who immigrates to the United States properly. They get
it's
five
not even
years.
it's not even about taxes, bro. You know how many people don't pay taxes and they still broke?
Mm-hmm.
You see
But
what
then
I'm
that's
saying? So it's not even about that. Because like if I was somebody who had the same advisors as Donald Trump, I would know how I don't have to pay taxes.
mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So it ain't even about that. So it could be an education on how you can avoid paying taxes or defer taxes. Maybe not avoid them, but you can defer them.
Right.
The IRS ain't locked them up about they would lock Wesley Snipes up, didn't
Yep.
they? You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah,
they
man,
didn't lock his
way too
ass up.
much. But he got
They
out
didn't
though
lock
after
Donald
what, few
Trump.
years? He's not in
I
there
know,
no more.
but they didn't lock Donald Trump up. So that
Right.
goes back to other people saying, "Oh yeah, he's a fraud, so he don't pay his tax." They will lock him up, bro. He knows something that we don't know. It's not about the taxes. It's really everything is about education. It's about the knowledge on what you can
Mhm.
and what you can't do. So even if they gave us reparations, or back to not reparations, with the foreigners coming in here and their idea is to start businesses. And the ideas might be to start businesses because they may not be able to get a job because of their illegal immigration status. But
Right.
if they do have legal status, they do come in here and start businesses. The same shit we could do. It ain't nothing. Learn how to do some drywall and then rent your talents out or get you a team. You ain't even got to know how to do drywall, man. You can just start a drywall business or a rehab business and hire the talent to do it. The issue is we don't think ourselves out of poverty. Poverty does not have a brain, and I'm gonna keep on saying that shit. We have a brain. If everybody else can think, maybe I can start me a rehab business and I can just hire the talent. I can hire the person that's in charge of the people who gonna do it. And I'm just the head person. We just don't think about it. And if we do think about it, we think about it and then we start watching Netflix and we don't think about it again for 5 years. You know what I
Right.
mean? So the issue is, yes, we all can be rich right now. We live in America. People can come here from other countries. We was born here. If they can come and they can rise up above us, that's because we our thought process is bad.
Right. Right. And
It ain't got
it's
nothing to do with the white man anymore.
it's ourselves. We're our worst enemy, ourselves in particular. And I had to put this out there. You know me, Andre. I've been doing security for
Doug
years.
said let him back in, bro.
Okay. He's not on there. I'm looking at my thing. It says guest. He's not in there at all.
He just sent it like, so I guess when people call your phone, man, it kick you out.
Yeah.
But
So tell him go back in or whatever. One thing I gotta say, I've been doing security for a while and work for the state, and then I graduated as a correction officer, and one of the things I told myself is, now that you got this certificate, ain't nothing going to hold you back now of being running your own company 100%. You don't have to ask anybody what a degree. Now that you got this certification, you need to be thinking, every time I do my overtime, it has to get out of this situation to run my own thing. And I was thinking in my mind too, you know what? You really want to help people in DOC, Department of Correction? So why don't you learn how to get some of these houses rehab and have a rehab facility? Because there are so many men that are being released, black men, indigenous men, people of color being released from prison, and they don't have nowhere to go because nobody looks at them as a second chance. Well, regardless of a second chance or not, what I'm trying to say is that could be a business in itself, having a place for them to return.
It
I know
is
you got,
though. I ran
go ahead,
across a guy. I
go
ran
ahead.
across a guy while I was doing my prospecting for real estate for people who want to sell their houses.
Hmm.
Right? Dude had a house that expired or whatever, but in my conversations with him, he ended up telling me that what he's actually doing is he is trying to find homes within 150 to $200,000. I'm like, wow, what's up with that? He said because he has a government contract where and the house has got to be 1,000 feet away from any school. So he said
Hmm.
he has a government contract to rehabilitate homes and turn them into group homes or halfway homes for people.
For prisoners,
So
probably
he told
ex-prisoners.
me, I said, well, okay, I'm a real estate agent for sure. I said, but I want you to teach me that. Let me know what you got going on. He told me, I'll teach you after you find me 5 houses. And he'll
Mm-hmm.
show me the business plan or the link to get in on it. I'm pretty sure I could Google it and find it. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
not something secret anymore. But you know what I mean? You might need a mentor, you might need a coach to take you along the way. But yes, that kind of shit right there is very possible. And they do have people who are making a lot of money, whether it's the group home for people who have mental illnesses uh, type, or it's other people who they get kicked out of guardian homes or whatever at 18 years old. You know what I mean? They ain't got nowhere to go. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So the possibilities are endless. But guess who's thinking more about these possibilities and taking these opportunities up more than the people who've been living here? It's the foreigners.
The
Why? Because
foreigners,
somebody done put them up on game about it.
right? Or the
And so
U.S.
somebody,
government themselves told them, "Hey, there's this thing
yeah,
right
that
here."
too. That
Yeah,
too.
the government's like, "Hey, we got all these things." So it's all. It's. I think monthly we need to start business ideas within our group. A business. You know how they have black business. We should start something, another aspect where we could move anybody. Well, we talk about business ideas and the ways to go get it. You know what I'm saying? And different where you at to encourage people as far as that aspect. Because my podcast is about promotion of anybody who's indigenous, who's trying to come move forward. That's my biggest thing. It's a kind of free broadcast basically of businesses. That's my biggest thing. I'm trying to help get people out there, link them with other people, whoever listens to my show, link them together. That's what I want to do. So I think that would be a good idea. I'm really going to look forward, get my LLC back and see how many different ways I can use my one business and to lead to another business.
Hmm.
Before we close, is there any closing things you would like to say before I close this out?
Based on the title, I just think the reparations argument is going to be more difficult than people are thinking about it, uh, because we're only thinking about, okay, and we're not talking about any other nation, just here. We know that more than just Black Americans were slaves. Um, then who else is paying? Who else is going to pay slavery back? I believe the tribal. That's another reason why that conversation on reparations is keep getting thrown under the bus because it's the Cherokee Nation in themselves. Now they are organization, right? Now they have their own government. That means that they had slaves who they call freedmen. They gonna have to pay some motherfucking reparations too. And
Oh,
any other,
they just
and
give
any,
citizenship. That's what they were
nah,
supposed to give.
nah, nah.
Well,
Fuck
then that
all
means
that.
that all five civilized tribes will have
All
to
of the
pay.
civilized, all of the so-called civilized tribes. We're gonna say so-called because there was way more tribes that were around besides those who we call civilized tribes. But they are gonna have to pay into this reparations pool also. That is only logical. That is the only thing that makes sense. If they in themselves, they are a nation, right?
Correct. They're a nation. They're called domestic dependent, meaning that they still up
But what
under
I'm
the
saying
United
is
States.
they are the in all whatever the word I want to look for, they are a nation. Am I correct?
Yes, they're a nation.
And they are a
Dependent.
nation that had slaves. Am I correct?
Correct.
And these slaves can be directly linked, even more so than the United States slavery reparation type stuff. Like you ain't even got to go through as much to find out who was slaves of these Cherokee or whoever the fuck else. That's gonna be
Chickasaw,
easy work.
Choctaw, Seminole Creek.
It's gonna be easy work to get reparations from them.
Yeah,
Easy work.
the line is we freed our slaves. We don't owe nobody anything, even to the point where they're even like we don't even
America freed the slaves too,
right. And
but you
then this
still
is how
gotta
they could
pay.
get them. They could really get them. Well, you slavery ended in 1866. You kept us an extra year, so you owe us an extra year of payment to 1865. U.S. let it go. You did 1866. We could, but then they might settle on tribal citizenship for the ones not. The other one's gonna say, "Hey, we gave you tribal citizenship, so
What
what
the
else do you
fuck is the
want?"
benefit? What is the benefit of tribal citizenship? What is
Okay, the benefit.
my financial benefit?
Okay, the financial benefit for the ones like the Cherokee Nation does have a casino. They, but they put their money towards the government and the roads. If they had to pay something out, they could. Now, other nations put their money towards um, the medical aspect too. They have their own doctors and stuff like that. So they could pay them if they wanted to. That's going to be another fight. That's why they don't want to make them citizens because they
But
do know they owe them something.
the
That's another
question is
reason.
though, you can give me citizenship all day, but is that all I get? Like if I'm suing everybody for money, you go, okay, now so that we don't have to pay you no money, you can get tribal citizenship. What the fuck is that gonna benefit me though?
Well, with
I was,
Native American
if
status,
I
there are
was, look,
programs
if I
within.
was, but if I was broke before I got citizenship,
Hmm.
and I'm broke after you give me citizenship, and everybody else is getting financial benefits, what the fuck does that shit matter to me, man?
Well, there are a lot of government programs outside of the tribe that they give them that you could use. Like you can make like arts and crafts, like you could do tribal different things that you could sell and you could get it if you're very good at it.
And what if I'm not good at it? What if I don't do arts and
Well,
crafts?
go to school. You get free
What
schooling.
benefit? Okay, I can go to school and I can go to a community college and get a Pell Grant, right?
Right.
And
But
it'll be
like
free.
there's free schooling within, you know what I'm saying? They do provide free schooling at times
So let's say
on
I go to school and I graduate. Now what? Most people who graduate from anywhere don't even get a job in the courses they went to school for. So the question is, what is the financial benefit for me from joining the tribe, getting tribal citizenship? like in a world where we fight for reparations, though. I mean, like everybody would like to have that bragging right to be like, yeah, I got a citizenship card. But just say versus that versus the monetary thing. What is the benefit of getting a citizenship card? Gonna help me and my generations to come. You muted if you talking, bro. I don't know. But I'll just say he gone. I don't know if he coming back. There is no benefit. A tribal citizenship card, yeah, you can brag to everybody around you, and you can do just like other people who I won't name because they allies to this show. They get their citizenship, and then they start talking about the people who was with them in the original struggle. Oh, y'all are this and y'all are that, pretending and saying all other kind of nonsense, which I'm gonna say it. For one, it's not cool. It's not even fair. You was just down with the whole seeking and searching of who your people are. So once a person can get their tribal card citizenship, now are they still Waybos or Wabos or whatever else that you want to call
I mean, I think that there's no, when you in, you in. You know what I'm saying? And you got to
But what
find your
about?
family.
But once you end, does that talk or does that give you the right to talk about the people who are still
Nah,
trying to
like,
get
like
that way?
you can't, like, you gotta, if no matter where you are in life, right? You gotta find the people who like you, right? Be with the people who celebrate you and forget about the haters, right? No matter where you do, you gotta remember you're going into somewhere that may not want you. You go in somewhere that not want you, you're gonna find some, you gotta work with the people who do want you, no matter what the situation is. When you're at work, a lot of times people at work don't want you there. So what, you kick it with the people that's cool, or you stand alone till you can't find somewhere that is, you find somebody, you'll bump into somebody eventually that's cool that you could trust. You know what I'm saying? Same way with the nation. When you first go in, you might have something, but if you're knowledgeable about the customs and everything and learn about where you come from and who you are and tell who you are, a lot of times you got to understand you're coming from a group where everybody then took everything from. And they are leery of coming in. And then you do got systemic racism that was taught by the United States government, was taught by the Spanish and the French. So that's not going nowhere. So because of that, you have to be ready to go in there and knock down certain things because you do know people mindset. And if they're really stupid, and then you got to take in people are stupid because of drugs and all of that too. Drugs, alcohol, and whatnot. What's going on in their life on top of that? So there's many different layers, right? So you stay with people who like you, who you get along with, and what, forget what they say, get what you can to make your life better. Do what you can to make your life better. Heck, what they say
And,
is
and
what you
if it's
do.
and if it's a big booty black girl, then hey, get it in.
I don't know about all of that. We're talking. We got to stay focused on the reparations right now, and that whatever you do in your little life, hey, that is what it is. But as far as we're talking about how to deal with this,
All right. Let me ask you this: Is you know how some people feel like they reparations is dating interracial? They feel like their reparations is having sex with white women. How you feel about that?
I've never heard
Do,
that before. I
do
think
you
that's
do you
silly.
want do
Because
you
to
want
me,
do you want
reparations is a
but do you
payment.
want some would you want some temporary reparations like that? I mean, like right now they talk
No,
about having
no, no.
suicide
My
bombings.
reparations, to me, the word reparations has to do with payment of monies, payment
But
of
they're talking about
opportunity.
building schools and doing that kind of stuff as reparations.
Right.
And maybe
Something to
maybe
change
putting up
my
back
life.
as Indians not taxed. Now that could be a thought process. But how do
Right.
you deal with that when
Non-tax.
how do you deal with that when I go into a grocery store like Meyer or Kroger and they got tax on their food?
Okay, so this is how this works out in Canada, and they'll have a tribal card, or you will pull out like a little tax card, and or you would have a status that would show, hey, Indian non-taxed or Black Indigenous non-taxed. You would work that out. That's why I said you can't be alone. You got to be within a tribal nation to show that, and then they would at the end of the year, if they still made you pay taxes, they would make them get it back. You could get it back extra, whatever they do. So that's how it works out. When I was in Canada, I saw that. So that's probably how it works a lot of places. You would just get it back at the end of the year if they still wanted to push their
So what
tax.
about the white girl thing though? Could you see yourself getting reparations like that?
No, that's silly. To me, reparations, like I said before, is money, opportunity, making your life better, and apologizing for the wrong that was caused.
I've definitely seen they were comedians, I believe, or people on social media, but they said that that's how why they feel like messing with white girls are okay because they're getting reparations back
No,
on every time the slave master did this or the slave master did that. I don't know.
I don't think that's
Uh,
reparations. I think that is freedom. That is another level of sexual freedom that was not allowed, because I understood that we got to understand that the black man used to rule Europe, right? Let's keep it real. Spain, England, France, they ruled it for 500 years, right? With the Moors. We got to talk about that history real quick. When they got tired of that and they overthrew the Moors, then they came over here in America and started to enslave the same people that were ruling, or lesser, stronger tribes from Africa. We got to talk about those things. That's
so you
people
saying that the
forgetting.
Americans are Moors?
No, what I'm saying is that they are descended of the lower class, some of them, right? There could be some black Americans that were Moors that came over here with the Spaniards. That's possible too. That's another variation of blackness that wouldn't be owed that.
So
You
where
know
would
what I'm
the
saying?
other ones come from? Massa? Is that what you're saying?
That could be another. Nobody really knows how people got over here.
I know, but just saying, like there was a lesser tribe of Africans that were already here. That's what you said, ain't it?
Yeah, like a lot of different people came traveled through. There are people from
So,
Polynesia that
so
came over
you're
here to
saying
Americas.
you do believe the out of Africa theory? That is what you're
No,
saying.
I'm saying that Africans did sell the seas. That's possible.
So
That's
you
more.
don't think there were any black people that was already here?
Of course, there were melanated people. When I say melanated, I mean dark skinned people that were already here in America.
Because there
You
were
got to
definitely
take this.
cave drawings that showed when the red man came here and there were wars, and they
I don't. I think
postulated
that
that
for every people on this
they
planet
said
Earth.
that that's when black people that was here, the original people, went extinct. Is what they was saying based on that Lucia documentary when they showed the cave paintings.
Who are
But
these people? Who are these people?
these are the researchers. These are the same people who, if it was 500 years from now, you would look back on their information and be like, "Well, see, this is what they said."
But they're basing their stuff still on what you call it. And this, it's like me. Unless they been on this land, nobody knows about these people in particular. I feel like
Nobody knows, but guess what? You would still take what the red man say is fact, though, ain't that right?
I
Ain't
take
that what you
whoever.
do?
I take who's been on the land the longest.
I know, but you would take what they say and it's fact, right? And they could be making it up.
Or did they, or were they on the land for a minute? You know what I'm saying?
Were
Like
they, or did they come with Genghis Khan? Did they come around the
Genghis
times
Khan
of?
only stayed in Europe. You know that, right? He did
You don't know
China.
that. Do you know that?
He didn't come over to the
Do you
America.
know that though, bro? For sure. Was you there? You was already saying we don't know if you wasn't there.
Genghis Khan didn't. How did Genghis Khan get over here?
So
And that
let me
time
ask you
period.
this. Let me ask you this. Were there Asian slaves that was ever brought to America before 1492?
No,
How do you know?
because not brought as slaves. No, but there were Asian people that hit off the coast of California. That's according to some people said, and some Asians talk about that too when there was a fleet that visit them.
But are these people scientifically? How can you believe them then? Like
Because
in
they
one
still
breath, you saying
have
according to
okay.
some people, but if I be like, okay, so we have scientific people who did archaeology
Well, I
or
do say
anthropology, you be like, well, we can't believe that, but we can believe what some people say.
That
No,
what you
there's
saying?
actually a documentary it said before Columbus, and they talk about how there was a group of people from China that came over to the coast of California before 1492.
And then those people did what after they got here?
They traded and they left.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they could have mixed with some, but it wasn't a large population that has an influence on everybody else. But you don't ever talk about the people who come over that were intermixed, and DNA does prove from Polynesia. That's a whole nother group of people.
I
The
mean,
Polynesian
it's
peoples.
a whole nother group. They say all kind of people have been here before,
And you
but we
forgot
can
that
only go off of the admixture that is here, the predominant.
Asian don't have to add that much. That is
They
only
do.
people.
That's what you call the red man. They
No,
are the Asians.
they're not Asian. There's only two
Oh
tribes
man,
in the
you tripping.
Southwest. No, there's only two tribes in the Southwest that genetically link up. And it's the Diné,
All of
which is the
them are
Navajo,
Asian, bro.
and the Apaches. They genetically link up more towards them. Everybody else has been here for a longer period of
But
time.
let's say they was here for a longer period of time. Do they or do they not still have Asian DNA?
No, not all of them. I don't. I would have Asian DNA. I
Cause
don't
you
have
not
South.
a red man.
That don't have nothing to do with it.
It
No,
do got a lot to do with it.
hey, if that was the case, bro, I listen. I'm indigenous Mexican, right? According to all of that, right?
You are
I should
black.
still
You are
right
black
from my from my
and
father's side, but
indigenous.
from
You
right,
are black and
but
indigenous
but
American.
at the
You
same
gotta keep it 100.
right, but shouldn't I have some Asian DNA then? Shouldn't
Maybe
I
your
do
shit
something?
got lost in the sequencing when they did your test.
They
You ain't
couldn't. They
heard. You
show
ain't heard.
everything else.
You have never heard of how some people can be identical twins and then part of their DNA comes back
How,
one way and one comes back the other way.
have you ever thought about this? The people who do have it is probably
But I'm
because
asking you a particular. That was a yes or
yes,
no question. Oh,
yes.
okay then.
Okay, and then my other question to you is this: how come the possibility if it's so strong that they just didn't intermarry with Asians that came over here within the past 100 years with the railroad? There's a
They
railroad.
did though.
That's my biggest point. It's not.
They did though. It's been people have pulled out people's ancestors, and when their ancestors put down where they came from, it said Russia.
Hmm. But you can't put that on all red men. You only could say some. And I think that's the biggest
Well,
thing.
that's it goes back to what they say. We don't need to do DNA. We can go back to what the papers say. Ain't that what
I
you
would
said at the
never.
beginning? But ain't that what you said at the beginning of this?
Yeah,
Okay.
is that okay? Yeah, like I was talking about the mountains. Like yeah, like the paper. Like they
No,
only
it
go
ain't
by
got
the
nothing to
paper.
do with the mounds. It's period. Period point
But
blank.
it
Mounds or
should.
no
It
mounds.
should. It
Mounds or
should,
no
because
mounds.
that's the oldest mound
Mounds
was
or no
the
mounds. They saying it don't matter if you find a burial grave 500,000 years deep in the dirt in America. If it come back anything other than us, we still going off of what the paper say because the paper is what the law is, and it's the law that rules the land. It's the law that rules the land. So I'm in here by myself, and that's fine too. But for one to say it don't matter what the DNA say. If even if you can find a person with a book that say or a piece of paper to say I am an original American, we was here first, and then a couple hundred years later or 1,000 years later in the soil, you find other ones, the red man, and you find that kind of shit, and they be like, well, we was here. And really, it don't even matter who was here first. What matters is what that paper say. And if the paper say that you got to be this blood quantum or you got to be this or
I
that,
can
that is the only thing that matters. And that is not something that should be even considered to be fair to sit up and say, oh, well, if the paper is more sacred than the bloodline,
Hello, are
because
you
you can
there?
take a DNA test and some of these tribes still won't let you in if your parents are not on these rolls, which makes it a system of almost racist supremacy. And for it to be upheld knowing that black people was here, knowing that black people been in the Americas before slavery, knowing that they forced all kind of tribes to be a part of these so-called civilized tribes, knowing that there were tribes who were never ever called a Cherokee that was forced inside of these tribes. And if I'm wrong, you can tell me about it.
Okay, I do know this. They forced slavery upon the five civilized tribes. They didn't want it. They were
We're
forced.
not talking about,
Slavery
I
existed.
didn't say slavery. What I'm saying is they forced tribes to combine into the five. That's what I'm saying. There were tribes who were never called Choctaw, Chickasaw, or Cherokee, or any of that kind of shit, and they was forced to become those tribes. Do you argue with that? I'm in here by myself again, which is perfectly fine by me, because I'm gonna lay it out. I ain't an expert. I'm not like Dan Calloway or the research guy or any of these people. You know what I'm saying? But these are the people who I rock with, though. Turtle Gang, never. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even like that guy, and I didn't even know who he was. But once I started seeing his stuff, I'm like, nah, nah. You know what I'm saying? But it's going to boil down to what's real. It's going to boil down to at the end when all this is over and the veil is pulled away, and hopefully the truth can be pulled out before the veil is pulled away, that we get respect on who we are. And we still might not even know the truth about who we are. It could be way deeper than that. We could be from somewhere else in the whole galaxy, man. And or all races are from somewhere else in the galaxy and put here on this planet as an experiment. And or the whole galaxy in itself is artificial and an experiment to see what the fuck it is that what will happen if you subjugate a particular people. You wipe away their history. It's only known to a few. But what would they do after a few hundred years or 1,000 years? And they face everything from trying to be wiped out and with diseases and everything else. What will happen to these particular people? Maybe they never even existed. They was just put in this particular place to be subjugated, just to see what would happen. My issue is they always call it the American experiment. Like, why do they keep on saying that? What the fuck do they know that your average person don't know? And why the fuck is America now a melting pot? Back in the day, it was just black people and white people. You had a few Mexicans here somewhere there. If you had your African or your Haitian, you didn't even know that they was African or Haitian. A lot of times, unless they like had those strong features in their face, you thought that they were black people. But at least here in the Midwest, I can't speak for California and places like that because I've never lived there, or New York where you had a lot of Puerto Ricans and Dominicans and things like that. You know what I'm saying? But at least here in the Midwest and possibly in the South, you know what I'm saying? But now everybody else is everywhere. Then we got the migrant crisis. that they call it a crisis, and it's not really a crisis because it was done on purpose. How's it a crisis if they did it on purpose? So now you're gonna have other motherfuckers coming into the country saying they this or they that, maybe or maybe not. There definitely is going to be a criminal element that comes in. I've never been a political person, but I think the climate in which the world is producing today, I find myself being more and more political, and I'm paying more attention to what is going on in this world. And it is up to me. I mean, I can't save the world, but it's still up to me to have a voice. The days of just sitting back and watching shit and reacting on with a like or some type of comment on a post, those days should be over for a lot of us. I think a lot of us should be looking into like political seats, places in which we can make a difference besides on Facebook. One way to find out if it's all a joke or not, if people are just paid puppets, is to get your ass in that seat and help make the laws and vote on this and vote on that. Like during the Reconstruction era or thus before that, when we had seats and we used to do shit, we used to have a voice, a bigger voice than what we have now. I don't think it's a coincidence that we got a lot of Cardi B's and Meg the Stallion and all of these distractions that are going on. The music is a distraction so that we won't become who we're supposed to be before the ancients come back. If this is not a holographic universe, the ancients are on their way back. If they have ever even went anywhere. And maybe they went somewhere a long time ago and it's taking them a long time to get back. Or they just have a time where they're gonna come out of that portal in which they already know how they're gonna deal with us when we get here if we have not moved on to a different evolutionary prowess. And the issue is that the world has the people who I descended from, and I keep saying it like that for a purpose. Uh, they have all of us who are descendants of slaves looking a particular certain way. Descendants of black slaves. Slavery was a big thing around the whole world around that time, and it just centered into, as far as this country is concerned, to be a black thing. That's what it evolved into. It wasn't always that. So there was all kind of slaves that were here on this continent from every race. So anybody can prove that they deserve reparations if they can prove that their ancestor had uh their ancestors were enslaved. So that's what's going to make the reparation party a little bit crucial for all the pro-black and pan-Africans that live here in America. But Carlton hasn't come back, and I'm about to start making some food because I'm quite hungry and sleepy at the same time. But what I will say in closing, though, is there has to be a unity at the end of everything. Niggas like,
All right,
I'm
no,
glad you came back.
no,
I was about to go ham real quick. I
okay.
just say there has to be a unity between uh, those who are brown and black skinned indigenous people, and I'm not saying red, but you do have those who be like, okay, I'm linked to the red man, and then forget everybody else who ain't got a tribal card. Like all that kind of shit needs to be thrown out the goddamn window.
All right. Well, we got to stay on topic about just about that. So I would say, ultimately, I feel
I was
like
about to get off, man. I was just saying my last little what's the names. Your ass been gone for like 10 minutes, and I
okay,
just
okay.
been.
Ultimately, the goal is that America has a debt to pay, and it should be paid now and not waited. And I guess you and I can make a grassroots group pay indigenous blacks of the United States reparation. That's what I would say. A nonprofit organization that assists us and people with their ancestry finding who they are and moving forward. So I would say yes to reparations. All right. I want to thank the people who took the time to listen to us. You could catch me at Black Bear Medicine Bag page or Yona Black Bear. Copper Roots, if they want to get a hold of you, how would they get a hold of you?
Don't find me yet.
Don't find you yet?
Nah,
Okay. Don't you got a Facebook thing though, or not YouTube? No,
nah,
I'm talking
don't
about
find me
YouTube.
yet. If you
Don't
look up
find you.
Copper Roots, you'll find me. Copper Roots
That's what I mean.
TV.
That's what I was talking about.
But
Copper.
my whole thing is I ain't promoting it like that yet because the things what I'm about to do is gonna be way different than how I imagined the channel in the beginning.
Okay. All right. Well.
I'm going on real live interviews with people in the community. Even people who I don't like. I even invite Turtle Gang up. This is let him speak his piece on some things. Uh
Okay. All
and
right. Well.
anybody else who's willing to do an interview, like a peaceful interview. But you know what I'm saying? But it's gonna be non-biased. You know what I'm saying? It won't be a full panel where people can come at you unless you want that smoke. Then hey, we can do that too. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
I want to do at least the initial interviews with people. I want them to be non-biased, and I have the questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like call me Oprah because I have the questions, and I'm going to deep dive the questions. I'm going to
Got you.
deep dive the answers. How about that? So don't find me yet, unless you want to come on the show. Come on there then. I think my email is up. You can email if you want to hop on.
What's your email just for
Put
the
it
people?
on.
What's the email just in case? Because I don't have it on here. So what's the email
I
so
believe
people
it's
could?
on. If you go to my channel, you'll see the email in the description. I don't know. I
All
don't
right.
have it memorized.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and thank you for discussing this. And once again, yes, reparations should be paid out to
Even if
descendants
it's
of
with a
slaves.
big booty white girl.
There you
We
go
approved
again.
it.
We're
We
not talking
approved this.
about that. I do
We
not approve
approved
of
this
this
message.
message. We do not approve this message. You guys have a wonderful
What
night.
you
Good night.
mean?
I do not approve on the Black Bear Medicine Bag show of that type of behavior. All right. Talk to you later. Bye. Thank you.